Welcome everyone to my Medicom Mafex review of the T-800 based on the Terminator, the first movie from the 80s, a real iconic character that kickstarted off for Arnold Schwarzenegger's career, and this was always on the cards for someone like Medicom as expected, having already given us many iconic characters where there was Robocop, Alien, John Wick, and now here it is, Terminator, the T-800 from the first film. And they've also announced one for the sequel as well. And it's no surprises these are the first two because a lot of people consider them as probably the best and the only Terminator films in the franchise. The packaging is very standard from Medicom, and then we also have shots on the side and then the back with different photos of the figure, and then at the top we have a real photo based on the movie and then some writing at the bottom. So inside it does have a really nice artwork of the Terminator. And then we also have the stand and then some sort of product manual. And here is the T-800 inside its packaging. So here is the T-800 right out of its packaging. And those of you who remember the first Terminator, he did have many different looks throughout the film, different costumes. And I think this is probably the right choice that Medicom have gone with. This is more of the iconic look, the memorable look when he went into the police station. And then it went all the way towards the end battle. So it was always going to be this one, I believe, over the others. Those of you who've been collecting 1/12 scale Neca figures of Terminator will know that they gave us, of course, many different looks. So we did get the same one, which I can quickly show you. This is the police assault, as they called it. And then they also released the one in the club shootout, which I believe was called the Tech Noir version. So these are from Terminator 1 as well. Just in case you don't get it confused with Terminator 2, they of course had Arnie back again, but he played a hero this time. In the first one, he was in fact the villain of the movie, chasing down Sarah Connor. In the second one, it's a different program, and he's the good guy this time. And he kind of has that same look because it is technically the same kind of robot. Leather jacket, sunglasses, very iconic. Some people can get it confused, but there are some differences. But yeah, I think this is probably the best choice they have gone for the first movie. So it's known as the police assault from the Neca version. So this one's just called the Terminator version. So I assume that this might be the only release they're going to do. So first impressions, obviously, you can say that I think they've got everything right, at least the look of it. Definitely resembles Arnold Schwarzenegger, the T-800 from the movie when he arrives at that police station. And it was such a memorable scene, very scary and frightening. And this is what this figure represents. And Medicom always get, I would say, the proportions right. I think most of the time it looks pretty good. And just the way they've sculpted everything, I would say, apart from the head sculpt, just the way the leather jacket's done, I think it's almost perfect. And I've always thought that even the Neca versions, the Terminator really works for certain figures because obviously he's not a human being. So when he has this like neutral look, I think it kind of just reminds you of like a robot. So Terminator figures always work in figures, and for me this is kind of no difference. And you can see that I think the trousers, I assume they get all the colors right, and then we have the boots as well, and then the leather gloves. So yeah, first impressions, always impressed with what Medicom give us. So for the articulation, of course, for someone like T-800, I don't think he was in that many dynamic poses, but you still need him in good articulation for gun poses, certain fights, certain grapples. So I expect Medicom to have a decent one because that is what they do for their figures. I'm going to start off with the head sculpt. So obviously it can go left and right, no problem. You do have the collar here, so it can kind of limit it. Just be very careful if you want to turn it more kind of to the end. And then we have it tilting side to side, no problem. And then downwards motion quite a lot. Upwards slightly, of course, again, the collar's kind of in the way, but I don't think he needs to look up that much. And then for the arms, they stretch side to side, and then there's full rotation on the arm. And then you can kind of see that It goes inwards as well. And then we have the elbow joints, they bend backwards. And then we have the hands, of course, have rotation, and there is a hinge in and outwards. And then for the body, so this jacket, which is kind of what you expect for 1/12 scale, the arms are always separate from the actual jacket, even though it's meant to be one piece. So you can see that it's a nice thick plastic that they've used, which you can take off, I assume, but there's no need for that because it wouldn't really work since his arms is also in this color. So for the body, I'm going to test out the waist first, since that seems to be the easiest, side to side, and then it can tilt this way, left and right, and then it can go forwards and upwards, not so much, I must admit. And then for the top half of the body, the jacket's kind of in the way, so you won't really get much of a swivel, but you can do it, just do it very carefully. And then for the legs, you can see probably standard, backwards as well, and then sideways, and it does the splits, kind of what you expect. And then for the boots, there's not much rotation, but there is a knee bend, but you can actually tilt the foot, but it does come off quite easily, which is a surprise. But it can go side to side, and then there's a toe hinge, I assume, which seems quite tight, probably because it's right out of the box, but you can see it does have a toe hinge. And yeah, articulation is kind of what I expected. Just be very careful, like parts of the shoe fall off. Can feel very stiff when you first do it. So first, let's take a look at the alternative hands. So there are 4 extra alternative sets. So the one right out of the box is the fisted hands, and here is the first alternative one, which is the relaxed palms, as we call it in figure terms. And this is basically just him saying hi. Well, not really, but you get what I mean, when he first arrives and he's looking relaxed. And you can also use this for certain poses, like when he's about to throw someone, or he's about to grapple someone, and it has that kind of robotic look, which of course always works. So this one is very important, although I'm guessing most people probably wouldn't use this pose, as we've got plenty of weapons to put him on. The second set of alternative hands is another kind of relaxed pose, shall I say, and it's not as wide as the first one, which can be used for certain like grapple hands. This one is slightly closed. Now it doesn't look like it's used to hold on to any of the accessories, so I assume this is just there for another relaxed pose, and just maybe when he's talking or just putting it side to side, I think it would work. Again, this is like the first set. I think most people wouldn't really use this, as there's plenty of the weapons. And for the first set of alternative hands, we have some sort of grapple / relax pose, and this again is in between the first two that we saw. You can see that it's not fully relaxed, and it kind of has a grapple. At first I maybe thought it was used for the weapons, but it doesn't seem as though he holds on to any of the guns that's included. So this one is just another expression hand, which can be used for kind of when he first arrives, or if you're just holding one hand with the gun and then the other one you want it relaxed with this look. And the final set of alternative hands is the trigger hands, which of course is for the weapons that's included. So there are a total of 5 different guns, and the first 2 sets I've used are these 2, because this is the ones he mainly used in that police assault. And it's such an iconic scene that most people probably want this as the main pose. And I'm just modeling off my Neca version, because I don't remember exactly which hand he had which gun. And you can see that these figures just look great in my collection. I've always liked the Neca one. I think it still holds up. They've been around for many years now, and they've got most of the characters. But you can see that they do lack articulation. But in terms of the sculpt and just that menacing, bulky look of Terminator, it still works. So these ones still hold up. But obviously for the Medicom version, everything is a bit better in terms of just the articulation, the sculpt, the detail. And I think it probably is slightly more realistic. It resembles T-800 slightly more, although the Neca versions are really good as well. So this is the main look I'll probably use, and now we can switch up some of the other weapons. So for the first set of gun, they've included this rifle. Now, I don't remember if he actually used it when he had this look. It might actually be from the club scene when he has a shootout with Carl Reese. So they've included it anyways because obviously we have the alternative head sculpt. But I believe this is more for the other look when he wore the kind of greyish blue jacket. So this is the Neca version known as the Tech Noir when he goes into the club scene. And he has a battle with Carl Reese, which I also have the Neca version. And I believe in that scene he also used the rifle, maybe, or he just used this gun. I don't remember. But those of you who are bigger fans of Terminator will let me know when he actually uses this rifle. But this is part of the enjoyment of action figures, is you can have any display you want. And for the fourth inclusion of the weapons, they have the pistol, or shall I call it the laser. I don't remember exact name of it. I believe Terminator did actually go into the shop and ask for this gun. And this again is the one used for the club scene. So I'm going to quickly bring in the Neca version again. So when he walks into the club, he actually holds up this laser at Sarah Connor and has that battle with Carl Reese again. So they've included it in this version just to give you like a alternative look, I guess, because they're probably not going to give us the other alternative suit version in Mafex. And since we do have this gun, we have to switch out the head sculpt. So they have included the one with the slightly longer hair, which is from the club scene. And I'm just going to punch it in. And I don't think in the movie again he wore this look with this hair, but this is just another great kind of face sculpt of Arnold Schwarzenegger to go with just a different look. So it's one that I think most people wouldn't use. I think the one with the sunglasses is the more iconic look. But I guess if you want a scene when he goes into the club, obviously without the costume, then you do get it as well. So yeah, this is the gun that's included, which is the laser pistol. And the final weapon included for this T-800 is another gun, the fifth one included in this figure, and it's a handgun. Again, I don't remember when he uses it in the film. It's been a while since I watched it. Those of you who know can comment down below. It might be from that final scene when he chases down Sarah Connor and Carl Reese, and he uses his gun maybe when he's driving in the lorry. But I'm not too sure. Obviously this head sculpt doesn't work, so they've included a third one, which is the battle damaged T-800. And to me, this is probably the more iconic look of Terminator, when you actually see the skin peeled off with the endoskeleton inside. And the lightness probably isn't perfect, but you get the idea. You can see it's a lot of damage and there's a lot of blood as well. So this is a great alternative head sculpt. And of course it is towards the final scene when he burns into the flames, spoiler alert, and he turns into the endoskeleton. So this is the Neca version that I have. It's a lot taller than the Mafex version, but you get the idea. And the Neca version also included a alternative head sculpt, which included the battle damaged eye. You can see that it's very minor. There is some sort of paint here for the blood, but you can see that it's not as good as the Medical Mafex one. I think this one's very basic. I prefer the one with the sunglasses for the Neca, but for the Medical Mafex, they really pushed this one to another level. Now, if you want a even more damaged kind of Arnie look, you have to buy the T2 for Neca. You can see here, this is the Terminator 2, which is what Medicom are going to be releasing this version in the future. And you can see that this is the battle damage version that I have, and this has a lot more going on in the head sculpt, which also looks fantastic. This is a great figure to have. Obviously the Medicom will probably have better articulation, but you can see that the T2 one still lives up today. So this alternative head sculpt, I think alongside the sunglasses version, is my picks for the head sculpts. So now let's test out the size comparisons. There hasn't been any recent Terminator figures in 1/12 scale, at least not from what I know. So we have to go all the way back to the Neca version, which I have. So the Police Assault. And then we have the Tech Noir version. And here it is next to some more Neca Terminator 1 figures with Kyle Reese and the T-800 endoskeleton. And with some more Neca versions of the Terminator lines with the T2 Sarah Connor and John Connor. Of course, we got these figures many years ago, but this is a recent 2-pack that they re-released. And I did do a review of it, so check out the link in description after this video. And here it is next to 2 figures that is more in line with its size, with the Medicom Mafex Justice League Bruce Wayne and the Tamashinations SH Figuarts the Batman. And here it is next to some Hasbro Marvel Legends with the X-Men Wolverine as well as the Spider-Man Homecoming Peter Parker. So now for my final thoughts of the T-800, the first Terminator figure they have given us by Medicom Mafex. It is what I expected, with a strong likeness to Arnie from the film, and this was definitely the right costume choice as he used a lot of weapons in that police fight, and this led to the final fight look. There's plenty of guns to use, different head sculpts, and I think all of them are great for a display, although one head and one of the guns or 2 guns isn't right for this costume, but I guess it's better than nothing and it's just a alternative pose. I think you will mostly use the trigger hands as the other alternative sets don't offer much but a basic pose. Now I do have the Neca collection, and even though they are bigger and lack articulation, I think they still hold up today, so if you have those, I don't think this is a must. But Medicom have done a great job in the T-800 and I expect good things from the T2 figure as well. Maybe in the future they'll build on this collection and give us the likes of Kyle Reese, the endoskeleton, and one I would love to see, which Neca didn't do, is the Sarah Connor figure from the first film. So my score is an 8 out of 10. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment and subscribe, and check out the links in the description, including the Terminator unboxing of the Sarah Connor and John Connor 2-pack. Thanks for watching and hope to see you next time.